Hi, Amber Flynn, and I will be reviewing Wolves by Sarah DeLappe as directed by Dana Resnick at Loyola Marymount University. I saw this play on November 3rd at 8 p.m. At the school, Loyola Marymount, and I am excited to tell you a little bit about the theatrical production review. So, told you the name of the play and I told you who the author was. So we're going to go ahead and move into questions. So conflict. So what's the main problem in the play? So the main problem in the play is that the girls are having a really hard time communicating with each other about like what's truly going on in their lives. It's all he said, she said sort of informational throwback from all these girls that are on the Wolves soccer team. And we see these girls developing kind of a characterization of each other that is false, and I think that that really speaks true to what's happening in society today. So, what tactics are used to address the main problem of the play? So the main tactics that are addressed to use the main problem of the play was that the girls really talked over each other and really weren't listening to each other. They were just talking to talk, and there was a lot of miscommunication happening in between the girls because they were kind of unwilling to see or hear what the other girls had to say. So it was interesting to watch that because it was very chaotic, and with chaos comes conflict. So who was the leading character? So I would say that most of the girls had an equal share in the leading character, but when it came to who caught my eye as the leading character, I would say it would be a toss-up in between number 14, who was a soccer player, and the captain, who was a soccer player, and number 46, who was a soccer player as well. And so they kind of shared the main leading character because 46 was the new girl. It wasn't 14, it was 7. 7 was like the striker, so she's got all this like pizzazz and like fight to her, and then the captain, who's like constantly trying to control the situation. And then who are the supporting characters? The supporting characters were 11, 25, 13, 2, 8, and 00. So all of those girls were supporting characters, and also the soccer mom who comes out at the end. And what did the leading characters want? Well, they wanted the limelight. They wanted to share in the wealth of winning. They wanted to take their indoor soccer team to the finals in Orlando, and ultimately we end up finding out that Orlando is not in fact where the finals are held, but they want to share in the glory basically and get scouted by a college. What did the main supporting characters want? Main supporting characters wanted to just talk and express themselves and understand rather than be understood. So what was the major conflict, highest point of tension, or crisis point? So the highest point of climax was actually at the end of the play when number 14 actually died of a car accident, and the rest of the girls respond to her death, and it was actually a really emotional point in the play because not only is there so much tension happening before she passes away, but there happens to be like this connection afterwards with all the girls to sit down and really play together rather than like stand alone sort of a thing. So we're moving on to character analysis. So are the characters believable? Why or why not? So the characters, from my standpoint and from the play's standpoint, are very believable. When reading the play, I didn't take them as believable because I couldn't really understand the true point of the play. I was just like, this is all really full of dialogue, and there's not really much setting change, and so I was like, what's the point of this? But the characters ended up being believable because of the way that the setting was and the way that their characterizations worked out. And actually, the actors who played the parts in the play were very believable and made the scene very believable. So pick one character and define its animal behavior. So I was going to say number 46. She was the new girl. She lived in a yurt. And the girls kind of made fun of her. So I would say she would be kind of like the black sheep of the group. Because she was really smart and she was well-traveled and the other girls were really not. So she kind of stood out on her own. So I would say, yeah, black sheep would be best animal behavior for her. And what are the circumstances of the play? Are the circumstances of the play convincing? Please explain. So the circumstances of the play are convincing because the girls are teenagers, so they're just going through this growing period and getting to know themselves, and they're not really concerned with getting to know each other, except for when they're playing on the field. They want to partake in in all the fun, and off the field they want to be dramatic, which is convincing. What's the main objective of the leading character? What do the main characters want for themselves? Please explain. So like I was saying before, leading character, there wasn't really one. It was the three of the girls, and they all wanted to share in the objective of trying to win and go to the final. Are the sets appropriate? Oh, we're moving on to setting now. So are the sets appropriate and effective? So the set was actually very appropriate because it was a small set. So there was only about maybe 40 seats in the audience, and the rest of the people that came in after everyone had taken their seats actually sat on the ground in front of this like fake turf sort of area. And there was a set of turf that was laying on the floor. And then there was turf hanging as a backdrop. And there was a door, and then there was another door, and there was a door we came in through, so there was 3 doors, and the girls in the play utilized those doors as kind of a setting situation. So one girl would go to the porta potty, it was this door, or the girls would go out onto the field, and it would be the back door, or they would come into the front, which was basically like them doing exercises, so that's where they would enter the field. That's, the field entrance. So the set was very appropriate. Are the costumes appropriate and effective? I believe the way that they did the costumes was super, super effective, because the goalie, she was in a separate color. She was in a green shirt, and she had her gloves, and she kind of stood out from the group because she was another ethnicity. And then the rest of the girls were white girls or Caucasian girls, and they were wearing blue. And the captain, who was kind of a standout, I believe she was kind of considered the LGBTQ of the group, and she was wearing a red band around her arm as the captain. And nobody really questioned her authority because it was kind of like this unspoken thing. And so the rest of the girls were wearing like shin guards, and they were really prepared. They were wearing cleats, so I think that the costumes were super appropriate. Are the sets and customs attractive? Please explain. So yes, I would say that the sets and customs were attractive because the lighting that was used was super well lit, and the prop master really did a good job with building this drop down of a net that went in front of 11 when we had this emotional breakdown in the set when 14 passed away. And the costume design was great. Overall, the production of the play was fantastic. I personally didn't enjoy the play reading it at all, but when I watched it, I actually enjoyed it. So I feel like that had to do with sets and customs. So the overall conclusion: what social commentary does this play present? Social commentary that this play presents is that teenage girls are, a part of society, whether we like to admit it or not. And in our teenage years, we're doing a lot of learning and experiencing a lot of what life has to offer. And unfortunately, like, death is one of the things on the list. And unfortunately, misunderstanding and racism is also on that list. And I think it just has a lot to say about our society, that there needs to be a lot of learning done, and that people need to experience and ask questions within their life, or there's an ignorance that comes up. The director. So, did you like the way this play was directed? Why or why not? Already kind of went over this. Really enjoyed the directing of the play. Girls really utilized the space very well. The director had a great tone and mood come out from the girls during the play, so just overall fantastic. And two, what would you keep and what would you have changed if you were the director? I would have given the girls a little bit more space to be able to move and groove and show their stuff as far as like soccer stuff goes, because we were just kind of got like these like little kicks back and forth with the ball. I feel like there could have been a lot more like theatrical soccer themed stuff done, or maybe even some projections used to show maybe the girls in a soccer game. Yeah, just to have breaks in between. I know that the play said it was meant to be only 90 minutes, but I think that just maybe a little bit more time would have been good to give breaks for the audience to process each piece and each setting throughout the piece. So overall, really great, and that's all I got. So yeah.